Packer and Durham. It's a Tuesday. Numbers 844-SAY-ACCN. Pre-power hour is upon us, and we're getting a new debut on the program because right now one of the hottest teams in all of America would be the Virginia Tech softball team.
That would be correct, yes. And Meredith Slaw has a big role in it. Classified as the designated player. It might be my favorite title in all of college sports for softball. Meredith, the designated player. Well, heck yeah, you know why, Pat? Because she's 13 of 20 in her last two conference series with 11 RBIs. That's a designated player, Meredith. Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are y'all doing this morning?
We're great. So 13 for 20. The softball looks about this big when it comes in there now. Is that the way that is?
I guess you could say so.
I would say, forget about the designated player. That would be a disruptive force.
That would be a disruptive force.
Going back to what we were talking about last hour. Meredith, I was just asking you during the break, the series that you just played at Florida State. I mean, Florida State's been the standard in this league for a long, long time, and it continues to be great. I thought what you folks did, rolling into Tallahassee, taking 2 of 3, trying to sweep the series, kind of sent a message, not only to within the league, but nationwide. Do you feel the same way amongst the crowd? I mean, that was an impressive series.
Yes, it was really exciting. I mean, as everyone has seen, that was like the highest ranking ACC series ever. And I'd say the 3 games showed that. Like, it was down to each pitch and each at bat and how important each pitch and each at bat was. It was great to see us competing against them, and I'm glad to see what can happen in the future.
You know, Meredith, we had Pete on a couple of weeks ago talking about, in fact, it was right before you guys went to Tallahassee. And we were talking about the long game here. The long game being the program this year, coming off of going to LA last year in the Super Regionals and things of that nature. How much of this feels connected this season, the success you guys are having, to the momentum that got built last year in a weird year because of the pandemic and everything else, but it feels like you guys took some steps last year and now you're maximizing it this spring?
Yes, for sure. I mean, we didn't lose anyone last year, so it's kind of just like we've already experienced the super regional aspect of the tournament, but we're looking forward to continuing to go as far as we can, but keep in mind playing first pitch at first pitch. So that's really good.
Meredith, does it feel like there's a target on your back all of a sudden? I mean, you know, you keep climbing, you keep chasing, and not that you've reached the finish line because there's still a lot of baseball or softball to play to get there, hopefully to Oklahoma City and win an ACC title along the way. But do you feel like all of a sudden it is different? It's rarefied air for what Virginia Tech softball is doing right now.
It is different, but like I said, we've had the experience of last year, and most of us are pretty comfortable with what we're going through right now. But we just have to keep our goals in mind and play the one pitch at a time. All
right, but you're 32-6 and you're 15-2 in the ACC, so it's going pretty well. I mean, it's going like really well. When you signed on with this program, you had to buy into a vision of something, I'm sure. Was this the vision? Was this kind of what you thought would happen, or has there been something that has turned this program north during your time in Blacksburg?
I would say the new coach, Coach Pete, really turned this program around, and he wasn't the coach that I originally signed with, but I wouldn't change anything in the world for what we're going through right now.
Meredith, when you're having practice, you ever go up to Keely Richard and say, guess what? You know what? I can hit anything you got. Go ahead, give me that rise ball you want. I'm going to slap that thing all over the yard. How does that work in practice?
In the fall, we face her and Lindley like quite often, but I'm glad in the spring she's on the other side of the field. That's for sure.
She is something, though, isn't she? I mean, it's incredible to watch her.
Yes, it's a stud. Like I said, I'm so happy to be on this side of the field instead of the other one when we're playing.
All right, so Meredith, here's the deal. You mentioned Emma Lindley and Keely. Combined, they have 389 strikeouts this year. This year, that's a career for some cats. So what is it about those two? Because Keely is 18-2, Emma is 12-4. Both have an ERA under 2. So when you stand in to take these fall reps, talk us through facing either one of them, because it both look daunting at best.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult. I mean, Keely not just has one pitch this year, she has three. And Lemley has her go-to 2 pitches. So you really just have to pick a pitch. But I mean, seeing their dynamic together and their relationship, Keely has just taken Lemley under her arm, and it's really, really cool to see.
By the way, it's also got to be pretty cool that the baseball team, fresh off of what they're doing, they had the big series against Miami. They take 2 or 3. They're ranked now in the top 10. You're sitting at the number 3 spot. I mean, all of a sudden, it's like Blacksburg, Virginia's the mecca for baseball and softball. That's got to be an incredibly cool feeling.
It's definitely awesome for both of us to be excelling the way we are. I mean, we all are looking forward to go as far as we can in this season, but having baseball ranked 2 is pretty awesome.
Yeah, we had, by the way, we had Jack Hurley on this show, 3 weeks ago?
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago. And Jack said he couldn't hit Keely. And Jack's hit like 550 or something. He's crazy what he's, I mean, I think he was leading the country, 3rd in the country and hitting at one point. He said no shot against Keely. I was thinking, okay, well, if this guy who's hitting, 400 and change can't hit her, then I'm surprised anybody does. Emma, Meredith, I want to ask you about Emma and Keely one more thing here. When you're the DP and you're in the game and you know the concepts and you see this game unfold, can you tell, like the other team, there used to be an old phrase in golf about guys who would spend time before tournaments talking about how hard the golf course was, and other golfers would say, well, if they're talking about how hard the golf course is, that means they're not going to be a factor. Can you sense when a team is fearing either Emma or Keely?
Yes, for sure. I mean, definitely the first inning tells you a lot about what the team is going to do, I think, personally. But yeah, I can tell when a team is fearing Keely or Lemley.
We were laughing the other day watching highlights of Virginia Tech baseball. And the ceremony, the tradition now that the baseball team has after a home run, they get the hammer and they throw it down. We got to come up with something with the softball team, unless you've got something for us. Has there been a discussion about that yet?
I don't think so. I mean, we do our own little celebration, I guess you could call it, when we come back to the dugout. It's more, we have a little thing in our culture, like it's expected. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when we hit a home run, we're expected to do that. So I like the culture that Coach P has brought and everything that we do.
And it seems, Meredith, that it's this, like you said, it's almost expected. And I thought your answer to one of the previous questions about, well, hey, the target's on us because we expected the target to be on us. I almost get a sense that this is not unexpected for anybody in that clubhouse, that, you know what, we thought we'd be a team that everybody had to deal with in the ACC and nationally.
Yep, it's really fun to see, and like I said, we have talented players. We're very, very deep, and everyone has experience. I mean, it's just amazing to see and be a part of a team like this.
I want to ask you about tomorrow, because you guys are in Knoxville to see Tennessee, which is kind of an interesting midweek game, relatively close, and then Louisville visits this weekend. So the ACC battles, you've already seen Florida State. Here's Tennessee, that's a top 20 team. But it's midweek. So how do you shift gears on something like this? Do you think about, okay, this could be a long-term game, this could be a game help us down the road, so to speak, NCAA's, that type deal?
For sure. I mean, this game tomorrow that we're going to be in is just like a regional or super regional game, so we have to treat it just like that and have our high expectations and our plans and just back our pitchers as much as possible.
By the way, was there a point before the season started that you had a sense that this could be something special in Blacksburg? The chemistry, whatever the case may be? What was it?
I mean, we as a team just get along so well, and the culture is amazing. We just all play for each other, and that's what it's all about in the end, and to go far.
And you mentioned that's where Pete has really helped, huh? Is that as much of it as anything else?
For sure. I mean, he starts the culture. A head coach is where it all generates from, but it has trickled down, and the team follows what he does and bought into what he brought to the team. So.
All right, I'm going to ask you the hardest question you're going to face. You ready? You good for this?
Is this harder than facing Keely in the fall?
This is harder than Rochelle, right? Because, I mean, listen, Meredith's hitting everything in sight, so it doesn't matter what comes.
She hits everything.
Yeah, it's going to get hit hard. All right, here's the question. Since you've been
Okay.
at Virginia Tech, what has been your hardest class?
My hardest class, I would say intermediate accounting, 3115.
Oh, you even know the number.
Whoa, hold on. Intermediate
When
accounting?
you know the number, that's even more important.
3115 is the class number, right?
Yes.
Who's done that? We've been doing 610 shows. Every time we have a student athlete make their debut, we would normally get a question. Here's the answer. Maybe you remember the professor. I'm not sure we've had anybody give us the class number. How about that? How about that? That tells you how smart Meredith is.
All right, Meredith, what is intermediate accounting?
It's more of a managerial accounting. It's just like all the material thrown at you at once. There's 2 intermediate classes, and the first one is probably the hardest one. Yeah.
All right.
Do you remember the professor?
It was during COVID, so that's probably why it was really hard. Yeah.
Oh, it was online.
It's even worse.
Oh, it was online and it was accounting.
It's even worse.
Oh, sharing the screen
Yeah, it's
and
even
all that and oh.
That stinks.
That's why it was hard. Of course,
Exactly.
it was math. It'd have been brutal for me.
It says West Durham.
Yeah, it says math whiz me. Meredith, congratulations. Have a great rest of the season. You guys are fun to follow. Pleasure to have you with us. We wish you all the best tomorrow night against Tennessee. It's on ESPN, by the way. So good luck there.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Meredith Slaw, Virginia Tech.
You know what I like about Meredith? The tone of her answers. And it wasn't a cockiness. It was just a pure confidence that we know what we're doing. Let's just go play.
There you go.
And I love that. That's when you know you got a team.
Yep.
I don't need to brag about it. Here's what we're doing. We're 15-2 in the league. What are you going to do about it?
We got top 20 softball for you coming up